Willkommen bei AERA, der Gemeinschaft zur Förderung des modernen Realismus. Heute mit der Bildhauerin Amelia Rowcroft. Wir sind eine Gruppe internationaler Künstler, die traditionelle Techniken anwendet, um realistische, gegenwartsnahe Kunstwerke zu kreieren. Amelia Rowcroft ist freischaffende Bildhauerin und erstellt seit 20 Jahren beeindruckende Porträts und figürliche Darstellungen. Sie lebt in Lewes im Süden Englands und hat für die Filmindustrie und führende Wachsfigurenkabinette wie zum Beispiel Madame Tussauds gearbeitet. Amelia hat in London zunächst an der Kunsthochschule Central St. Martins und danach an der Wimbledon School of Art studiert. Nachdem sie bei einem Wettbewerb des Art Salon als ersten Preis ein Stipendium für die Akademie in Florenz gewonnen hatte, konnte sie dort ihre Studien fortsetzen. Amelia ist eine begeisterte Lehrerin der klassischen Techniken für Porträtskulpturen, die man in modernen Kunstschulen nur noch selten erlernen kann. Sie hat deshalb eine Serie mit Filmen zur Herstellung von Skulpturen der Meisterklasse entwickelt. Die Serie ist gedacht als Alternative für Studenten, die in den eigenen vier Wänden lernen wollen. Damit möchte sie die Techniken und Tricks weitergeben, die sie sich im Laufe der Jahre angeeignet hat. Nun wollen wir Amelia selbst zu Wort kommen lassen. Der Originaltext ist mit deutschen Untertiteln versehen.
My name's Amelia Rowcroft, and for the past 20 years I've worked as a professional figurative sculptor for fine art in the film industry and creating figures for the world's leading wax museums. Since I began sharing some of my processes online, I've become part of a great community of sculptors and have been asked many times if I run workshops. My ambition for sculptingmasterclass.com is to provide a series of carefully designed step-by-step courses on sculpting that will give you the foundation of knowledge and skills you need to practice and develop your art. In my new online course, Strong Foundations, I'm going to tell you everything that I know about getting a good likeness in clay. Whatever your reasons for wanting to learn to sculpt, being able to sculpt a realistic head is the first thing you need to master. Whether your ambition is to be a professional film sculptor, fine artist, or you just want to learn as a hobby for fun, I will share with you all I know about how to create a good likeness of a person in clay. I've broken down the process into small, manageable chunks. Whatever your level, I promise you that with practice, you can become a better portrait sculptor, and I will share with you everything you need to make that happen. In this video, I'm going to explain to you how to make an armature for a small figure. So it'll work for anything up to about half life-size figure, just using armature wire, but anything bigger than that, you really want to start using some metal poles for some more solid structure. So if you decide how tall you want your person, divide it by 7.5, that's the size of your head. And then if you draw out that illustration to whatever size, or photocopy it, print it, whatever, then you can use that to create the outline of your armature.
Jetzt wird die Drahtarmatur gemäß Skizze zurechtgebogen. Mit Permanentmarker werden die Gelenke markiert. Die Arme werden mit Draht befestigt. Für die Finger nimmt man dünnere Drähte. Anhand der Skizze wird die Form der Hände bestimmt. Die Armatur wird mit dünnerem Draht umwickelt. Damit wird später der Ton gehalten. Die Verbindungen werden mit zwei Komponenten Epoxidharz verstärkt. Die Drahtarmatur wird dann am Stützgerüst befestigt. Die Füße werden an die Bodenplatte geheftet. Jetzt wird die Armatur in Position gebogen. Und nun kann's losgehen. Jetzt wird die Armatur mit Ton ausgeformt. Zur Einhaltung der Proportionen wird ab und zu nachgemessen. So wird daraus nach und nach die gewünschte Figur. Stück für Stück werden kleine Elemente aneinandergefügt. Sie werden um die Drahtstruktur herum angepresst. Wieder wird weitere Tonmasse aufgetragen. Wenn genug Material vorhanden ist, geht es an die Feinarbeit. Die Form wird mit dem Werkzeug bearbeitet. Dann wird die Oberfläche geglättet. Zum Schluss folgt die Frisur und das Standpodest. Die Schönheit der Figur ist jetzt in voller Größe zu erkennen.
When you're sculpting a really big, muscly person or superhero or something, they have got some bulging veins, but don't go mad, don't put veins all over them. Less is more. Pick a few key veins, and the main areas where you're going to see them is front of the biceps, forearms, and of course the jugular. Best thing is to get some actual reference of the person that you're sculpting or a real muscly person and just look at where those veins actually are. Draw on where you're going to put them and try and break it down into straight lines, because wiggly lines, they're not really like that when you look at it. They are actually made up of broken down straight lines. It's better to roll it out on a flat surface, just easier to get it a bit more uniform, but it doesn't matter if it's a bit lumpy. Anything in nature isn't totally uniform. So I'm now going to gouge out my vein. I'm going to be using just a standard loop tool, which you can get pretty much any sculpting supply shop. I'm going to go along the whole length of it, and it doesn't matter if some bits are a little bit deeper than other bits. And it also works quite well when you actually look at veiny people. There's often like a gap where it goes under the surface. Just going to soften that a bit with the other end of the loop tool, just make it a little bit sort of shallower. I've got my length of vein. I'm just going to lay it in all the way along now. Now I'm just going to blend it in using a wooden tool, just blending it like that both sides. So I'm just going to blend by just dragging my loop tool across the veins, and be brutal, because what looks like you can barely see it up close is going to be really, really unsubtle as soon as you see it in a different light or stand back. Now I'm just going to take my old makeup brush, so I'm just going to go across ways, always across, so that you're still blending, and just keep knocking it back. You want to get rid of all those edges, because subtlety is what works best with these things. So I'm just going to sponge it down now, just using a natural sponge. It's always good to have a variety. Some bits are more sticky out than others. It's just going to make it look more natural. I think these are going to work really well for this level of finish that I'm going for. It's going to be a fiberglass body, and they'll read really well once they're all painted and looking lovely. I'm now ready to start working from my photos, and I'm going to start working around the head. And to start off with, I've stood back to where my photos were taken from. Our set of photos are taken from 2.30 meters away, and then I've just put a tape line on the floor just with some masking tape, so I know where to stand back to when I'm looking at my photos. Starting off with my front-on picture, I want to make sure first of all that I'm looking at it from exactly the same angle as the photo was taken, and that means how it was turned left to right. So I want to make sure that I can see equal amounts of each ear, so that I'm definitely looking at it from straight on, and then I want to make sure that I'm not looking at it from underneath or above. So a good way to check you're looking at it from the same angle is if you were to line up the bottom of the earlobe with the bottom of the nose, how do they line up? This photo is taken straight on, so the bottom of her nose is level with the bottom of her ears. If the bottom of your ears were to be lower than the bottom of her nose, it would mean that either she's got incredibly low ears or her head is tipped back and you're looking up at her. Now I want to make sure I'm looking straight onto her face, and the way that I gauge that is just that I can see the same amount of both ears out of the side of her head. I'm looking at my sculpt, looking at my picture, and I'm just flicking my eyes between, always trying to spot the difference, looking at the overall shapes, and straight away I can see that I need to add a bit onto her left side of her cheek. Now, because I'm going to be sculpting this to a very high, smooth finish, I really want to start smearing my clay on. It's like the opposite way of sculpting to when I'm sculpting something sketchy and I'm leaving everything loose and leaving all the low points open so I can press the clay on with my crusty old tool. This is like the opposite. I want to start really getting it compressed and tight. So I really want to start smearing it on, trying to be very specific about my shape still, but not having loads of distracting texture everywhere. I like to use my fingers a lot for this, but obviously it's totally up to you how you work, what tools you use, etc. Just really trying to make the shape of that jaw as I saw it in the picture, and then I'm going to stand back and check that what I've done is right. Now I'm going to work my way around the whole head, looking at all my pictures, and what I like to do is just keep both sides going at the same pace. So if I've got a work session, I think, okay, I'm going to go, say, from number 2 to number 6, and I'm going to do that both sides today, and then carry on the next session around, but always keeping it equal, both sides, and always remembering that you are going to go all the way around the head. Don't miss the ones around the back, because they are so important. It's good to set yourself a target for your work session, just so that you keep things moving and you keep it chugging along, because otherwise you can get really obsessed with one picture and then it just slows everything down and you'll never get around the whole head. When you're going around the head, just some pointers of what to look for. I've taken this 3/4 one as an example. Always be looking for that outside shape of the whole shape of the head, including the back of the head, hair and everything, and really focus on that furthest away profile. It can really tell you all the information you need going around, exactly what's going on. Try and always think about the depth of your eyes, if they feel like they're the right depth. If the eyes are too far forward or too far back, the whole head will feel wrong. So really try and look at where that tear duct is in relation to the bridge of the nose. And also look at the other side. How much of that tear duct can you see? Is it tucked in too far, or does it need to come forward in space? And look at where it is in relation to the outer eye corner as well. As I've said, inner eye corner is always further forward in space than the outer corner, but try and look at that overall shape of the eye, exactly what it's doing, and always relate it back to that profile.
Es folgt eine Arbeit am lebenden Objekt.
Trying to aim for is just you in repose, as you would be as if no one was watching. As the process goes on, there will be a point where you forget where you are. When your face totally relaxes, right, and you just sort of go into your default setting, and that's when I'm going to really feel what I'm looking for. Stay pretty much in the position, that's fine.
Brings back memories being measured of when I was a child, the excitement of going to the shoe shop, having your feet measured. Why do you start with a profile?
It just kind of maps out the basic proportions of the face. So I'm just marking on the angle that his actual profile is going to go on, because his face is at an angle. And then I'm going to build up his profile along that line. It's totally different sculpting from life than sculpting from photographs, because you end up building a relationship with the model. It's that moment when they really relax and become unself-conscious. That's when you just see that spark of who they are, and that real feel of them comes through on their face.
No, it's incredible what you've done in an hour. I think it's extraordinary.
Well, it is early days, obviously, but yeah, at this stage I'm just focusing on getting the profile kind of mapped out, and then the main bony points and the structure of the face.
even just with the bone structures you put it, you can still see the lightness coming through. Well, I can anyway. It's extraordinary. So do you do one part of the head at a time?
Well, it's really good to just constantly work all around the head and not get too focused on one bit, because otherwise you can end up with one bit really developed and then it might not be in the right place or something.
So earlier on I noticed that you were doing a lot of measuring, but you don't seem to be picking up that tool anymore.
I mean, it's really good just to help as a guideline, and if you're doing like a really super accurate, very realistic head, you check your measurements all the time, but for something really sketchy like this, I don't want to get too hung up on that. It's more about getting the feeling of you and more of an expressive kind of piece of work, really. So I've already marked here 2 lines. I know that's the inner eye and outer eye on each side. So I know that the eyeball goes in between there. But I just want to see how far forward it comes from the side. It's looking like some kind of horror film, exposed eyeball freak. The reason I do the eyes last is because, you know, they are the most important bit to get right, and you have to be sure that they're going into the right placement in the head. It's all really just like an elaborate game of spot the difference. You just look at the sculpture, look at the person, look at the sculpture, look at the person. And the quicker you flick your eyes between, the more the differences jump out at you. It's all about finding the right model, really, because it's not it's more about having someone with character in their face and interesting forms, but more than that, it's also about someone that can sit without being self-conscious. That's why it's so great working from life and having the luxury of sitting with someone for a whole day, because inevitably you are going to go back to your default repose setting.
Wow. It really is uncanny. Actually, thankfully, there's a smile that seems to have been my default pose, which is quite a pleasing thing, I think.
Yeah, it's really nice how that's come out. I think because we were talking and chatting, it was often at the end of a smile. I didn't do it deliberately, it's just what
It's incredible.
happened.
I don't know how you've done it, to be honest. It's absolutely incredible. And what I particularly love about it is the fact that it's got an element of the naive.
Well, it is a very quick study, obviously.
Yeah.
I've just done it in a day, so I just wanted to keep that element so you can see the action of making it.
Zuletzt formt Amelia noch das Porträt einer berühmten Persönlichkeit für ein Wachsfigurenkabinett.
When I look at the Pope, the first thing I see is a warm, love-filled man. Very smiley eyes. They are the windows to your soul, and I really wanted to reflect that. When you're sculpting a portrait for a wax figure, it is very important for it to have a smooth surface and be accurate from any angle, because it's going to be scrutinised very closely. I try to choose an expression that they do a lot, because that will be well worn into their face and it will add to it feeling like it really is them. It is a very technical process, but it's easy to overlook the main point, which is to get the feeling of the person right and to really feel their flavour, feel their character. You're trying to convey their whole personality in one
An dieser Stelle möchten wir uns ganz herzlich bei Amelia Rowcroft bedanken. Sie hat uns dieses Filmmaterial freundlicherweise zur Verfügung gestellt. Ihre Videokurse finden Sie als Download auf Amelias Internetseite. Dies bringt uns zum Ende unseres heutigen Programms. In den kommenden Monaten werden wir weitere Folgen mit Malerinnen und Malern aus aller Welt präsentieren. Halten Sie deshalb Ausschau nach AERA, der Association Embracing Realist Art, und besuchen Sie unsere englische Internetseite realist-art.com.